It's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer-mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Hour 2, Toker Talk Radio is happening. It's happening right now, live on CannabisRadio.com. Glad you could be here. I'm back from Anchorage, Alaska. What a good time I had in Alaska. Got to unwind a few things here while we're back in town. I've been getting a little bit more coverage in other media lately. Coming up soon, and I don't know how soon, but coming up soon, there will be an interview with me in Family Circle magazine. Yes, that Family Circle magazine with like the crocheting and the, Family Circle, like on your grandma's coffee table, Family Circle magazine. Yes, I'll be talking about weed in Family Circle magazine. So I don't know when that comes out. I'm looking forward to that. Most recently, yesterday, as a matter of fact, an article came out written by Mona Zhang on theinfluence.org. The title is, "In the Legal Weed Business, How Deep Does the Suits versus Stoners Schism Run?" Now, I got interviewed about this. There's a lot of people interviewed in it, actually, but I was pretty prominently interviewed in this as the kind of the critic, I guess it would be, of the commercialization of weed. And it's interesting to be in that position because from the suits side, I'm like the stoner, right? Who's saying, "Oh, privateer Marley Naturals, you're not benefiting the Jamaican ganja farmer," right? But then to the stoner side, like when I supported issue 3 in Ohio, I'm you terrible corporate bastard. Like, I can't win. I'm kind of in the middle because I actually am kind of in the middle, right? Like, I'm not anti-capitalism. In fact, I think capitalism has done more in the past 5 years to legalize marijuana than activism did in the previous 35. Money talks in this society. Money's what makes things work here. And it's all well and good that, we're legalizing, and it should be because it's a civil justice issue. It should be because it's the right thing to do. But it being the right thing to do never got it legalized, unfortunately. And it should. I mean, we're supposed to be, somebody keeps telling me we're a Christian country. I see it on Fox News all the time, right? Well, I can't see it in this respect. And when it comes to this legalization happening, I'm glad that capitalism has moved it forward, because capitalism has moved a lot of our issues forward. I mean, even if you look back to the civil rights movement, there was a degree of that had to do with losing money, with looking bad, right? When Ray Charles wouldn't play in the segregation of South, costing money. It started to cost people money. That's where it became a problem. And it's just the way things are. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily like it, but you have to be a realist and realize what changes people's mind. The gay rights movement, to some extent, again, about money, recognizing, hey, there's money left on the table here for discriminating against these people. And people in the creative and design industries brought a lot of attention to these issues. And we recognize how much economic power there was in a lot of these groups. And I think the same thing's happening with marijuana. And I don't think it has to be a bad thing. It just is a thing. It's a force of nature, right? It's our job as the activists to recognize the reality and keep bending the capitalism toward the social justice. And I think it can be done. We'll talk a little bit about that when we come back.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
The Russ Belville Show. Chat is for friends 18 and older. We expect our chat to be civil, mature, and free from excessive profanity. If you don't like these rules, there are approximately 6 billion other chat rooms with lower standards that you can visit.
Get ready to hear something good about cannabis.
I give you Jasmine Huff.
Tell us a little bit about Jasmine. Give us the good news about how you've gotten to where you are today.
Like all good children, I rejected my parents' values and ran off to become a capitalist in New York City and did a lot of work with an organization called Women 2.0. Looking at the cannabis industry, I said, you know what? Here we have a brand new industry. It's going to be $1 billion industry. And the rules of who leads this industry and who funds this industry haven't been written yet.
Good news. Only on CannabisRadio.com.
Don't want to spend money on a night out, but don't know what to do other than watching TV or playing video games? Consider playing guitar, bass, banjo, or mandolin. The instrument will give you hours of entertainment with friends with minimal expense. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com.
Warning, hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. Radical Russ here in beautiful legal Portland, Oregon. My apologies go out to the group, the gang out there at illegally-alive.org. I just received an email from them at, I see. Oh my goodness. They sent a different number. There was a different number for me to contact them today, but they sent it while the show was already getting prepped and I missed the response, and oh my God. We'll get this fixed, guys, but I gotta say, conference call number may not be the best way to pull this off. We'll see what we can do, and my apologies again to Illegally Alive. I completely support what they're doing, so let's make sure we can get them some attention. Check out illegally-alive.org. Now, back to this article. In the legal weed business, how deep does the Suits versus Stoners schism run? This is posted on theinfluence.org by Mona Zhang just yesterday, and I was interviewed in this piece. It did a bit on privateer holdings, and it talks a bit about, this call in the marijuana movement, in the marijuana industry, to rebrand cannabis. This cultural conflict, they say, it was once a countercultural underground operation Many in the industry are calling to rebrand cannabis and shed the stoner stigma. Those calls rub some people the wrong way. Quote, some of us take a little bit of an insult to it, says Russ Belville, a cannabis activist who hosts a show on cannabisradio.com. It's as if who and what we are is somehow a negative, end quote. And it tells the story of Cannabrand. You remember me in 2014 getting on these two activists or two founders, Olivia Mannix and Jennifer DeFalco. They were profiled in the New York Times on this idea about rebranding cannabis, saying we're weeding out the stoners. And there was immediate backlash to that. And one of the companies, Mindful, which is a dispensary group, cut their ties with Cannabrand, saying their comments, quote, conflict with our company values. We understand that these comments were hurtful and insulting to the industry and to the many who have fought so hard for years in the name of patient rights and safe access. Meg Sanders, CEO of Mindful, said in a statement at the time. And DeFalco said, we never meant to put anyone down when we were talking about that. We were strictly talking about the image of cannabis in advertising. But still stand by their original comments. The industry needs to change its image in order to be taken seriously. And if it's still associated with that negative stigmatized stereotype, it's going to be a lot harder for policies to change. Then they get into talking to Brendan Kennedy with Privateer, which owns Marley Natural. And they've come under criticism for appropriating Bob Marley and Jamaican culture. Now, it's not so much, and I wrote about this when it first happened, it's not so much that, you know, Bob Marley has a cannabis brand. We'd expect that to happen. It's that the guy behind it, for years and years, was pointing out the negative image of marijuana and using Bob Marley specifically as an example of the negative image of marijuana. That was the problem. It was, we need to not have everything about marijuana be all Rasta colors and Bob Marley attitude. And then suddenly when a deal could be made with Rita Marley and the Marley estate to make a whole bunch of money off of Bob Marley's name, all of a sudden, Brendan Kennedy has an epiphany. Suddenly now I see what the problem is. It's because he's a visionary and a philosopher and yada, yada, yada. It's the same whitewashing of Bob Marley's legacy that I saw at Universal Orlando theme park that wouldn't let me in with a pot leaf belt buckle, but has a huge banner for a Bob Marley tribute that they're putting on. How the hell do you tribute Bob Marley and not show a pot leaf, not mention a pot leaf? It's that same problem I've got with Brendan Kennedy, right? So his explanation, his response to that, listen to this quote. Over the last 20 to 30 years, a lot of bootleg product producers have appropriated his image really unfairly. I would see all these trinkety bric-a-brac products that were using his image in an unlicensed manner. Those products brought down his legacy and insulted his legacy. Do you know how much unlicensed bric-a-brac that I saw when I was in Jamaica? I know all those Jamaicans there selling all those trinkets with images of Bob Marley are not licensed through the Marley estate. But they're making more money off of it and supporting the actual people of Jamaica doing so than what the hell Privateer is doing, selling mid-grade cannabis with Bob Marley's name on it. For the big-time CEO millionaires to point their fingers at some street people that might have put some Bob Marley logo on a trinket they're selling in the streets of Kingston or the Grill or hell, even New York City or Chicago, that takes a special grade A gargantuan set of testicles, doesn't it? Almost the same level of testicular fortitude you'd have to name your company Privateer. Do you know what a privateer is, folks? A privateer is essentially a government-licensed pirate ship. It is an armed ship used primarily during wartime, headed by private ship, private crew, private captain, private crew. They're not in the military in any way, but they have special government license to be armed ships to attack and plunder other merchant ships, particularly merchant ships of the enemy. That's what a privateer is. So you got a privateer picking up Bob Marley's name, huh? That doesn't bode well, does it? So anyway, I'm quoted in respect to that. It says, Belleville, who has been a vocal critic of Marley Natural, calls Kennedy's comments, quote, interesting spin. Let's keep in mind they're benefiting Rita Marley. They're not benefiting growers in Jamaica, says Belleville. It may be too soon to tell, but maybe they will take some of these profits and reinvest in Jamaica, end quote. And Kennedy responds by saying, activists continually express support for what we're doing. They ask us for money all the time. Activists reach out to us for help because we can do things to end prohibition that they can't, and that's the end game, end quote. And that's great. And it's good that privateers put money into legalization campaigns. It's good that they've funded advocacy groups. Doesn't necessarily take away the stain of what you're doing, though. I have also been quoted there saying, there's no doubt that capitalism has moved the ball forward as far as marijuana legalization goes. Governments want the tax revenue. Entrepreneurs want to be part of the green rush. But the motivations are fundamentally different. They spoke to Derek Peterson of TerraTech out in Colorado. Responsible legislation equals responsible business. We have to be involved in legalization efforts because they open up markets for us. Something I've been telling a lot of the cannabis industry for a while now is if you're not investing back in normal Drug Policy Alliance, Marijuana Policy Project, or other groups, then you're not going to grow beyond your own state. And my quote here is about the civil rights in it. Even if we weren't making any money, locking up people for marijuana is not something we should do. It's a social justice issue for me. And so this is where they talk about how there's a difference in legalization between the movement and the industry, specifically with respect to allowing home grow. According to the report here, this is Mona Zhang writing, unsurprisingly, support from businesses for grassroots initiatives and legislation that favor home grow, allowing consumers to bypass the industry, is decidedly weaker. Adam Eidinger, who led the Grow and Give Initiative 71 in Washington, D.C., said, quote, we received a token amount from marijuana businesses, less than $5,000. Why? Well, because, oh, sure, it did the good thing of ending possession arrests, and it did the good thing of allowing people for home grow, but it didn't create a marijuana industry. So the marijuana industry wasn't that interested in supporting it. So, yeah, capitalism's a good thing in moving the ball forward, but remember, capitalism has capitalism's interests at heart. Business has the bottom line at heart. And if the bottom line is enhanced by denying home grow rights, which is what's happening in the legalization initiative in Nevada that's on the ballot right now, in Nevada, when they pass their legalization, if you live within 25 miles of a dispensary, aka a city in Nevada, if you live within 25 miles of a dispensary, you won't be able to home grow. That is a particular protectionist bit added into these types of legislation to protect the industry's interests. They don't want you competing with them. They don't want you home growing and not having to go to their marijuana store. That's just one of the ways that the business interests in marijuana legalization do not ally with the activist interests in marijuana legalization. And there can be others as far as how these laws get set up to favor those with heavy capitalization, with the ability to show $1 million or $2 million in escrow or available assets. Ways of so-called, quote, weeding out the stoners, as Cannabrand might have said. Now, to be fair, there's a part of this article that talks about how, yes, some people on the cannabis side are not business ready. Showing up late, not prepared, unkempt. But this needs to be a two-way street here. This needs to be an integration where we both can work this. It's not that we need to rebrand cannabis to the people that use it. We need to show that the branding of cannabis and the people that use it isn't accurate. We can still have long hair and tattoos, just show that we're responsible and get to work on time.
It's a mystery! It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma!
It sure is. It's 4:20 here on the West Coast. Oh my God, I'm actually enjoying 4:20 in my own 4:20. I'm back home. So many time zones. I've been to 5 different time zones this year. Wow. When we come back, we'll talk more Suits and Stoners. Stick around.
Dr. Dabber, hurry! Its temperature is shooting past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's burning up.
I'm afraid for this little guy, it's just too late.
What caused the problem?
Only Dr. Dabber can maintain the perfect temperature for a smooth-tasting, slower burn. This standard vaporizer lost all of its health benefits, sending it up in smoke.
So you're telling me that most vapor pens burn so hot they produce smoke, not vapor?
Correct. Keep away from those standard vaporizer pens and turn to Dr. Dabber. Doctor's orders.
Less heat, more flavor.
The Russ Belville Show, where the truth about marijuana gets more than a minute to speak.
Hey, this is Willie Nelson for Normal. And I smoke pot and I like it a lot. I learned a long time ago that marijuana is a lot safer than alcohol. There's nothing wrong with the responsible use of marijuana by adults. It's time we stopped arresting and started respecting those who smoke marijuana responsibly. To learn what you can do to help, contact Normal at norml.org or call toll-free 888-67-NORMAL.
Are you playing an acoustic guitar but want to be louder without an amp? Try a resonator guitar. The fingerboard extension has National Resophonic and other resonators, square necks and round necks. Stop by the Fingerboard Extension downtown Corvallis at 120 Northwest 2nd Street today, or check out its inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com. Go wild hog in the woods.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everybody. The phone lines are open. We are live here at Rolla J Studios. If you feel like calling in, you got a question or a comment, a topic for suggestion, the phone line is for you to be the voice of the marijuana nation. We like hearing from all over the country. All we ask is your area code and your first name. Phone number here is 971-533-7111. That number once again, 971-533-7111. Toll free. Well, it's not toll free. It's not toll free. It's a pay number. Do you have to pay for phone calls anymore though? I've been wondering this, right? So, like, almost everybody has a cell phone now, right? And you see, there's still toll-free numbers, 1-800-866-855-844-877. There's a bunch of them, right? Bunch of toll-free numbers you can call, but does anyone actually have to pay tolls anymore? Like, isn't interstate United States phone calls, aren't they free anymore? I don't know. But anyway, the phone number is 971-533-7111. And we're talking about this Suits and Stoners situation as the marijuana movement becomes legal. And I find myself kind of straddling both worlds because I come from a Suits world, right? But I also come from a Stoners world. By day, I used to work corporate jobs. I used to work, I worked on Wall Street. I worked on Silicon Valley. I've worked in hospitals, military installations, right? We're talking short haircut back in the day when I had hair, short haircut, suit, tie, totally corporate, right? That was my day gig. And then at night, I was a rock and roll musician, playing music in bars and hanging out and smoking weed and just living. So I've kind of got a foot in both worlds. And I understand the part where the Suits have the problems with the Stoners, right? The stereotypes of showing up late, not being serious, immature, whatever it might be. And to be fair to them, there are some Stoners that are like that. I mean, most stereotypes do have some kernels of truth to them. You can find people that match those stereotypes. But I think a larger factor here in that suits versus stoners thing from the suits side is inability to accept diversity. And I don't mean diversity in the standard, like blacks and Latinos, gays and handicapped, all people equal kind of thing. Because, legally speaking, they can't be that way. They have to be diverse, right? Legally speaking, corporation suits, there's laws on this stuff. But I mean diversity of thought, diversity of attitude, diversity of personality, diversity of expression. That's what's missing in the suit world. And it's cultivated from our very beginnings in grammar school. Be on time, sit down, be orderly. Everybody function the same way at the same time, doing the same thing, right? That sort of cubicle mind that gets harvested, that gets created in our public school system and all the way through to, becoming a good worker at the factory or a good sales assistant on the floor or a good bureaucrat in the cube. Okay. So in the corporate world, there's that kind of orthodoxy, this rigid set of acceptable behaviors. And it's not to say that there's not, fun and stuff, but it's also very regimented, right? There's like the Friday cake day for everyone's birthday kind of thing. The summer potluck for all the employees and their families. The Christmas party, that one time everybody gets a little too drunk, right? But very measured and controlled bits of fun. And so to that world, to that suits world, looking over on the stoner side where everybody's kind of carefree and easygoing and wearing what they want and relaxed and going to concerts and taking drugs and having fun. And it's a little threatening and there's a little jealousy to it. Oh man, I wish I didn't have these kids in this mortgage, man. I'd go follow the Dead too, or I'd go follow Fish, or I'd go follow, I don't know. I don't know those bands, so make it up for me, will you? Mo? Okay. I'll go follow Mo. There's some jealousy there because these people, in a sense, are wage slaved out and they're chained to jobs that they don't necessarily love or even like. And they look over to the stoner side. It's like, wow, you guys are making money in weed and still like having fun and still have a libertine attitude and a progressive attitude. And man, I picked wrong when I picked accounting. Shit, I should have stuck with the weed. I was smoking with the kids in school back behind the bar. Oh my God. Right? So there can be that attitude of jealousy, that attitude of that feeling of envy on their side. Then on the other side, let's look at it from the other side, because I come from that world too. I come from the stoner world. And in the stoner world, there's just kind of this default setting about capitalism and corporations and the evil of the man, right? It's just, there's a natural distrust of the whole, it goes, goes back to reggae culture, goes back, Babylon is going to take over, right? It's that whole attitude that from the stoner side that looks at the suit side and sees nothing but a rapacious, consuming beast of capitalism that tarnishes everything it touches and turns everything to greed. And to be fair, there's not, like I said, there's kernels of truth in all stereotypes, right? There's a lot of that in capitalism too. And I get frustrated being in the middle sometimes. Sometimes I get frustrated when I look at the stoner side and the stoner side thinks it can remake capitalism. Cannabis will somehow be different than all these other capitalistic goods that are sold and bought. It'll be different. Oh, it's not going to be different. It's a consumer good that all people like and want. It's not going to be that different. But on the other side, I see the corporate people wanting to excise the stoner part out and almost, validating what the stoner side is saying, that, yeah, we do want to excise the stoner part out and turn this into a capitalistic quantity that can be bought and sold, and like liquor or like gambling or like alcohol or cigarettes or whatever. So both sides are coming at this with perspectives that are not wrong from their point of view. So the question becomes, what do we do? What do we do in the middle here? What do we do to make this a little bit better? Well, one thing I think is to make sure that those of us on the stoner side start to show ourselves as a culture and a people, right? I think for too long, this has been about the plant, the drug, the marijuanas. It's been about the reefers, about the substance itself, rather than the people who take that substance. And I get in trouble when I start treading in these waters sometimes, because I have a very civil rights attitude toward marijuana use. And that attitude is that I am a marijuana smoker. Oops. And I'm dropping shit in the studio. Oh, just hot sauce. So anyway, I'm dropping stuff in the studio. Now, I have this very civil rights attitude toward marijuana and marijuana users, in that we are a people, not just people that use a substance. When I'm in the South for an extended period of time, and I'm not smoking marijuana for an extended period of time, allegedly, I don't stop being a stoner. If I stopped smoking pot for a year, allegedly, would I stop being a stoner? Is it the act of smoking pot that makes you a stoner, or is it something more than that? It's an interesting question, because if that's true, if being a stoner is being part of a culture, then is that culture on the wane? Is that culture dependent on it being prohibited? Like, how many of you would be smoking joints with some of the people you smoke joints with if the illegality of it didn't force you all into the same circumstances and the same situations? Would there be stoners in a totally legalized world? Well, I think there would be. I think there is, because I think being a stoner is more than just being an outlaw. It's more than us just all sharing the same persecution. That may have contributed to our culture and may have shaped our culture, but it's not the sole determinant of our culture. I really think that people who smoke pot on a regular basis, who form a relationship with it, where it becomes a permanent part of their life and well-being, are fundamentally different people than those who do not. And in that group of those who do not, I would even include the people who occasionally smoke pot because they like to get high, but aren't really stoners. And I'm using the term stoner here just because it's shorthand and it's easy. We can have another name if you don't like that. Tokers is the one I like. I like Tokers. I think that works for me. But Tokers is a little inaccurate too, because we got people now that dab or vaporize. And so I don't know. Tokers tends to imply a joint. But I do think that we're a people. I think, physically in a sense we are, because physically our bodies are retaining the phytocannabinoids. We're retaining THC and its metabolites in our fat cells long after we have ceased using the cannabis. So even just on a biological definition, by the fact that we have phytocannabinoids in our body, we are a different people than the people who do not have phytocannabinoids in their body. It's my thinking. But it's difficult because you could become an ex-stoner, I suppose. You could stop smoking pot permanently, and a lot of people do. So would they no longer be stoners after enough time has passed, when all the phytocannabinoids have exited their body, haven't been actively smoking pot? Would they still be stoners? Tommy Chong was in prison for 9 months, didn't smoke pot for 9 months. Certainly all the phytocannabinoids had exited the system within that 9-month period, but I don't think any of us would say Tommy Chong at any point was not a stoner. It's just, the more I think about it, the more I feel it. It just feels this way. And I hate saying it feels this way, because I'm all about logic and looking things up and reason. And I want to make a really well-reasoned argument about this, but at its core, it just comes down to my feeling. And it comes down to my feeling that me and my friends and damn near everybody I know, and most of the people that are listening to me, are a people. We are a culture. We are a definable ethnicity in this country. And to discriminate against us isn't some safety mechanism having to do with how a substance might affect people, primarily because most of those determinations are based on metabolites that have nothing to do with how the plant might affect people. It's clearly discrimination against us as a people for the content of our bodies, right? We can't discriminate against people based on the relative melanin content in their skin, can we? No, we cannot. We cannot discriminate against people because of the relative contents of various pharmaceuticals in their system. Americans with Disability Act, right? Can't do that. We aren't supposed to discriminate against people based on whether they have XX chromosome or XY chromosome or even any of the other varieties that happen from time to time, XXY, XYY. Can't discriminate against people for that, but we can discriminate against them because they have phytocannabinoid metabolites in their system. We even protect people who believe imaginary fairy tales of one type or another, but not people with phytocannabinoids.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
The next generation of vaporizers has arrived. Vuber vaporizers are blazing the way with unparalleled technology for oil, concentrate, or dry flower pens. Providing unsurpassed customer service and expert craftsmanship, Vuber vaporizers use cutting-edge technology, providing a power-packed, smoother vapor with a lifetime guarantee. Experience vaporizing the way it was meant to be, the Vuber way.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
As it relates to my brother, there's one thing I know for sure. He kept us safe.
Okay, maybe you're high, too.
Hello and welcome all you high-flying, die-trying, roll-a-Philly blunt for your friend hempsters, every roach-smoking bong token, however you get your THC can enthusiasts, all you rebels, individualistic originals, and outside-the-box ganja warriors, you chunky monkey, Cherry Garcia, munchie-loving hempsters, all you captive earth surfers, astral travelers, and ganja-loving connoisseurs, all you high-flying, wide-smiling, ganja-rific cannabophiles, welcome to everyone except Donald Trump supporters, because that's how I really feel.
The Grow Show with Kyle Cushman, only on CannabisRadio.com.
The Russ Belville Show is proudly sponsored by the Marijuana Business Association. The MJBA, called by NBC News the Cannabis Chamber of Commerce, is the fastest growing business association in the fastest growing industry in America. I've been working with the MJBA for years, and I personally invite you to join the MJBA. MJBA also publishes the popular MJ Headline News on Facebook and the MJNewsNetwork.com and Marijuana Channel 1 on YouTube. Visit mjba.net for more details.
Hello, Mr. Man. Hi. I'm working. I'm sorry. No food till this is done. This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Almost 39 after the hour. We got some great shows coming up here the rest of this week, and it's going to be a fast and furious week, let me tell you. Tomorrow, we've got Hemp Day. We've got our good friend Doug Fine telling us the latest updates in industrial hemp. I believe we've got another couple of states that have passed hemp laws. We'll find out on tomorrow's show. Thursday, I am flying to Washington, D.C. Be working at the Normal National offices in Washington, D.C. And I've got 90 minutes from the time my plane lands before the show starts. And we'll just see. I've got to make my way out to Keith Stropp's residence. Yes, folks, I am staying at the house of the founder of Normal. My good friend Keith Stropp always likes to put me up when I'm in Washington, D.C., and who am I to turn him down? So we'll crossing our fingers I make it from Reagan National to Keith's place in time, because we got to get baggage and we got to get the cab or the Uber, whatever. Fingers crossed. We should be doing our show live from Keith Stropp's house on Thursday. And then Friday, as well. Now, Thursday is our regular Cops Say Legalized Drugs segment. We'll be speaking with another great law enforcement official with Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. On Friday, we've got a special extended interview, and this, again, will be taking place in Washington, D.C., from Keith Stropp's house. We will have Lauren Vasquez, my fired-up lawyer, and Mickey Norris. They will both be on the line to discuss the Adult Use of Marijuana Act in California. And I just posted my latest radical rant column in High Times on this very subject. And I came up with it. It was the idea that came to me was, if we were proposing Prop 215 as legalization, would the Stoners Against Legalization support it? And so I wrote it up as, imagine that they're proposing. And I didn't say it at the beginning of the column either, right? I said they're proposing a new kind of legalization. It's called personal partial legalization licenses. Personal partial legalization licenses. It works like this. Marijuana is illegal, and if you're caught with it, you can get a $100 ticket, right? They're going to make it so it's a $100 ticket if you're caught with marijuana. If you're caught with more than an ounce, or you're caught with any marijuana on a school grounds, it's a misdemeanor, and you can get jail time and a fine for that. And if you're caught even growing one plant, it's a felony, and you can get 16 months to 3 years. This is the personal partial legalization licenses. Now, those are the crimes, but there is a license. And if you go pay the government a $50 license every year, you can carry around an ounce and not get the ticket. And you can grow some plants, but not everywhere, right? There's some places are not going to let you grow plants at all. And you'll have a place to go shop for weed, except not everywhere, because a lot of places will ban shops for weed. Now, the license, you pay the government this license, $50 license every year. It's an easy enough license that just about anybody can get it. The only requirement for the license is you have to tell the government why you're using marijuana. That's it. Do you think the Stoners Against Legalization would be for that legalization? A legalization that has a $50 license requirement, a legalization that doesn't legalize home growing everywhere, a legalization that doesn't guarantee that there'll be any pot shops where you live, only legalizes possession of an ounce. Do you think they'd be for it? No, they'd be screaming bloody murder. That's not true legalization. And then that's where at the end of the column I say, yeah, just take out personal license with recommendation, government with doctor, and you've got Prop 215. That's exactly what California has now. A personal limited legalization license. A license that doesn't even protect you from arrest. Cops can still arrest you for weed. You can just then go to court and have your lawyer show that you had a personal use license, and then they'll throw out the prosecution. But you still have to, pay for the lawyer. That's what the Californians are dealing with right now, right? Rather than have the Adult Use of Marijuana Act that lowers the penalties or legalizes in every way, except public toking. Public toking goes up from $100 to $250 as a fine. But in every other way, the penalties get lower. At worst, they're the same, but most of them get much lower. And it legalizes weed. I think the most frustrating thing to me in trying to deal with these people that are anti-Adult Use of Marijuana Act is them not understanding the power of legal weed. Just how powerful legal weed is. Because even under decrim, they'll say, hey, but California's decrim, man. It's just decrim. Which means it's still illegal. Hey, man, well, we got medical, man. Prop 215 is all we ever need. Yeah, medical means it's still illegal. Both decrim and medical do not change the fact that the smell and sight of cannabis are excuse enough for a cop to fuck with you. Now, it may not happen. You might have a card. You might be in the Bay Area and, police see you smoking a joint and it's no big deal. So good for you. But it ain't that way for everybody in California, and lots of places in California where they have bans on indoor and outdoor cultivation, where the cops aren't so friendly to weed and would like to go to the hassle of busting you and then you having to provide your recommendation in court. And so long as marijuana is still illegal, even decrim, that means drug dogs still have a job. Dogs that sniff pot still have a job. And those dogs can be used to hassle people on the roadside or to secure warrants for people's houses based on the smell of weed. Because the smell of weed is still illegal. Because weed is still illegal. So I hope folks will be listening in Friday, because we're going to take calls too. We'll take calls if you've got questions about the Adult Use of Marijuana Act. Oh no, it's going to destroy medical marijuana. No, it's not going to destroy medical marijuana. It gets frustrating, I tell you, having to deal with, the sky is falling coming from both sides. Like the prohibitionists. Oh my God, we can't legalize. Kids won't go to school. They'll drop out. There'll be massive wrecks on the roads. The black market will still be running. There's the sky is falling from the prohibition side. And then from the stoner side, you get, oh my God, it'll be a corporate takeover. It'll be a monopoly. Weed will cost $600 an ounce and be loaded with pesticides. And everybody calm down a little bit. This is not new. We've got 4 states that have legalized marijuana already. We've got District of Columbia that has grow and give marijuana already. And it's not the end of the world. No matter how much some of these places try to make it the end of the world, they're inventing problems now. In Oregon, we invented the problem of secondhand cannabis vapor. Oh my God, secondhand cannabis vapor. Oh, that could be bad for people. No, it's not. It gets so frustrating. So I was in Anchorage, Alaska this past weekend, right? And I'm there at the Northwest Cannabis Classic, and they have their after parties at the Potluck Event Center, which is at 420 West 3rd Avenue. That's literally its address, 420 West 3rd Avenue in Anchorage, Alaska. And there's, 90 to 100 people maybe in this lounge. Nice, cozy, easy chairs. A crystal chess set if people want to play chess. A nice bar. Good music playing. A big projector screen on the stage with all sorts of spinning fractal, kaleidoscopic kind of visuals. People dabbing, people smoking joints, people passing pipes, using bongs. At the bar, you could buy soda pop. You could buy Italian sodas, hand-mixed Italian sodas. They had energy drinks as well. And best of all, behind the bar, where the liquor bottles should be, row upon row of glass jars of bulk candy, like M&Ms and Skittles and Reese's Pieces and gummy bears, everything you could want. And they're free because it's a private membership club. And those are free for the members. The drinks, I think you had to buy. But the candy was free. You could get a little 2-ounce cup of M&Ms to go with your joint. And it's a bring your own cannabis. It's like these clubs aren't even asking to have the same rules and abilities as liquor bars do. They're not even asking to be able to sell the weed. They just want to be a private place, private club membership where adults can gather indoors and smoke some pot together. And you'd think, outside of Alaska, that this was the next coming of the apocalypse, the end of the planet, if we had a pot bar. This potluck events in Alaska couldn't be more mellow, couldn't be more laid back. Teresa Collins was telling me that she had at her 420 event, there were 500 people at the event. How many DUIs or wrecks after the event? 0. I saw a lot of cabs coming and going to this place too. People aren't stupid. They're taking care of themselves. And better than they do with alcohol, because with alcohol, people get that macho courage thing. I could drive. I'm just fine. That doesn't happen with weed. When people are too high on weed, they go, oh shit, man, I am too fucking high. And they don't drive. Or they get a friend to drive them. Or they chill out for a bit. They get an Italian soda and they wait until they're not too high. This has never been a problem. People act as if legalizing weed suddenly unleashed the stoners in their cars. Oh my God, we legalized weed. They might drive. Like we weren't driving before. There's 28 million people in this country that are smoking marijuana at least once a year. I bet some of them drive. And yet, year after year, the fatality rates keep going down. And they're lower in the states that have legalized medical or recreational pot. National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA.gov. Look it up for yourself. Don't trust me. Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Alaska all have lower per 100 million mile fatalities than states that don't have legal weed. Pick one. It's being up there in Alaska and seeing this club operating and knowing that Washington made it a felony. The legislators in Washington were so terrified of the idea of a pot bar, they made such a thing a felony. There was nothing felonious going on at the Alaska Cannabis Club. It was a bunch of adults sitting around listening to music, eating candy, drinking stuff, and getting high as hell. And nothing bad happened. There are no fights. There's no belligerence. There's no problems. It just leads me to think that these people just fundamentally have no idea what being high is, right? It goes back to that idea of the drug user as, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, that parable. This idea that you're perfectly mild-mannered and then you smoke the demon reefers and the next thing you know, all hell breaks loose. It doesn't. Smoking weed just makes you a more reflective, mellow version of what you already are. That's all. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's why they don't like it.
This is the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Ganjapreneur.com, your guide to the cannabis business world. Ganjapreneur.com is a comprehensive resource for cannabis professionals and entrepreneurs. Download the Ganjapreneur app on your smartphone or tablet to catch up on cannabis industry news, scroll through our daily job listings, and learn about successful cannabis companies, executives, and investors. Ganjapreneur.com, helping Ganjapreneurs grow.
You're not high. You're listening to the Russ Belville Show on CannabisRadio.com.
Christian convictions are under attack as never before.
Okay. Maybe you're high, too.
NORMAL stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks are far less than those posed by legal drugs. Coming soon to a city near you, Cannabis Finance Boot Camp. Get all your cannabis accounting, legal, and compliance questions answered by their knowledgeable panel of industry experts who want to help your canna business boom. Whether you're a grower, dispensary operator, or a newcomer to the field, your canna business needs Cannabis Finance Boot Camp. For information on upcoming events, visit CannabisFinanceBootCamp.com.
I have a package here for Radical Rick. Is there a Radical Rick here? How about a Rick Russ? Any Rick Russ? Somebody named Freddie Barack has sent him a package. Anybody? What is that? Sounds like a skunk. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation, only on CannabisRadio.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just a few minutes here for us to tidy up and get on out of the studio. Reminder that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we got the Stoner Jesus Show, our other live production here on CannabisRadio.com. So tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and 4 p.m. Alaska Time, you can catch Stoner Jesus, the greatest podcast ever created. I just read it, folks. I don't know if it is or not. So yeah, Alaska, man, I tell you. And as global warming, climate change has a greater effect on this planet, Alaska is going to be much more popular than it already is. I'm telling you. I was there in Anchorage for 3 days. And the days, by the way, are like 20 hours long this time of year, right? They're so far north that it starts getting light around 4:30 in the morning, starts getting dark around 11:30 at night, which is very trippy after you've been partying all night long and you go outside and it's still light out. That's a little weird. But for those 3 days I was up there in Anchorage, it was like 70 degrees. It was nice. I had locals telling me that, yeah, you come here in a really nice time of year, man. It's never this nice. It's usually 40, 50 degrees. It's just really nice. And while I was there in the hotel room, I watched a documentary or a news piece, I guess, from one of the local news stations. It wasn't PBS either. It was one of the main affiliates, ABC or something, that was doing a piece on climate change. And it was talking to these villagers in these remote Alaskan villages that have subsisted on hunting seals, right? That are perched on the ice, right? And they can't subsist that way anymore. There's no more ice. The ice has gone away. There's not enough ice to support a man to be able to go across the ice to get the seal, right? So he's like, yeah, I could shoot the seal, but I got no way to go get it. There's not enough, strong enough ice. And showing these maps and these photographs from observatories in Alaska that have chronicled over the past century the complete retreat and disappearance of glaciers, right? This is not theory in Alaska, this whole climate change thing. This is real to them, and it's changing a lot of lives and a lot of livelihoods. A lot of ways of life are being completely changed. And I think as this accelerates, and I do believe it will, and a lot of the more southern regions become more inhospitable, Canada and Alaska are going to be some prime places to live. So I'm saying, find yourself some great land up there in the Yukon or up in Alaska. Find a nice spot. Buy it now while it's cheap, because I don't think those glaciers are coming back anytime soon. Sad to say it. Well, folks, that's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. It's great to be here live in Rolla J Studios, and I'm getting ready for a dog date. It may be my last dog date with my dog Roscoe. My ex-wife has custody of the dog, and she's moving to Coral Gables, Florida in just a couple of weeks. So this may be it. Roscoe, the official dog of 420 Radio, Rolla J Studios, and the Russ Belville Show. But for everyone here at CannabisRadio.com, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.